Hi guys. Try this again. Just tried to get it started and the technology was freezing up. Let me see who comes on. You guys here? Okay, here you guys come. Let you guys come on. Everybody comment. Let me know that you're here so all the people can take note. So when we pick our challenge today, why the angry face? Who's angry with me? Who's angry with me? Technology. Hi guys, welcome to day 3. Good to see you. Okay, looks good now. I know that it was freezing up before. Sometimes these Facebook lives, it's behind the scenes stuff that y'all don't need to know, but a lot of times we're doing all of this live in the Facebook group because it's most convenient for y'all, but sometimes technology wise, it doesn't work as well as some of the other formats like Zoom. Like I do my coaching calls in my mastermind on Zoom, and it's a whole different thing. Sorry. Okay, we're gonna get started today. I want to thank, I just came off of teaching a call, my mastermind. I want to thank Beth, who sent me a private message and said, just in such an elegant way, that yesterday, you know, I was a little distracted, and we were trying, you know, normally when I run these kinds of challenges, I have Lindsay from my team here, so it's not all me kind of managing all the technology, and she can kind of feed me things. But obviously we're in quarantine land, and so yesterday we tried something out where Lindsay was going to be sending me messages by voice, and it was distracting, and there was a delay, and my family was texting me, and there was a whole bunch of stuff. So anybody who was frustrated with the video yesterday and my distractions, just thank you for bearing with us. Thank you, Beth, for pointing that out. And it prompted me into action. You know, I'll tell you what it prompted me to do. It prompted me to send my family a message and say, from this time to this time, Mama is working. No one text or call me. Figure your stuff out. And so it had me stepping into those bounds. I was talking with one of you guys, problem solving your scenarios in the Facebook group, talking about what it looks like in terms of owning your voice, setting boundaries, and stepping into what I call pack leadership, which is really assertiveness. And just a little hint, many of you who are new to my world, something that I talk about often is that our little girls in our society are not necessarily taught to own their voice, are not taught assertive communication skills. In fact, it's the reason why, if you notice when you say things to your kids and you're really not phrasing it as a request, it's really a command, like it's bath time, it's bedtime, get your shoes on, off the video games, come to dinner. If you start to notice how many times you end that command with an okay, that's you understanding how your brain was conditioned to be a non-effective communicator. All the okays are basically us asking for permission. And when we're placed in these positions of authority, where we all of a sudden have all these little people or people growing into bigger people who are looking to us to be the CEO of the household, to be the pack leader, to you know, be the Pied Piper, and we're asking them for permission, it's super confusing for them, right? 77% of communication is nonverbal, so it's super confusing for them. And so a big piece of what I teach is we're going to retrain our brain as women to be effective, assertive communicators. And it's going to take a minute because we were not conditioned this way. And we can sit in blame and anger and it shouldn't have been that way, or we can just step into action and get to work. And the perfect place to get to work, retraining your brain for more effective communication patterns, is as a mom. Because we have this beautiful opportunity all day, every day, because these people, they need to be led. And so we get to practice, and that's the way that you master a new skill is practice, practice, practice. Repetition builds mastery. So I have to walk that talk. And I wasn't even recognizing that me being available to the people, like the only time my text dings is when it's one of the 5 family members, well, 4 other family members besides myself. And it maybe is an emergency. And there's no emergency. Everybody's home. They have another parent. He's available too. I can be off the grid, off the clock, while I am here. And I needed to set that boundary with the people. So Beth contacting me in such an elegant and generous way, saying, hey, you were kind of distracted yesterday, prompted me into action to walk my talk and to say, hey, from this time to this time, no one contact me. I'm unavailable. It's a process. It's a journey. So that's a little window into my world. So I just wanted to say thank you to Beth. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm not going to read all your comments right now because I will get sidetracked, but I am going to go to what we're going to be doing today. And so today is really, I'm calling it teaching and telling. Okay. Teaching and telling. And just as a little recap, because everything is building on itself that we've been covering this week. And I've actually been teaching, I teach a 3-step process for anybody who's been listening to the podcast for a long time. You've heard me talk about this, but I really teach a 3-step process for how to have productive conversations in your home. And productive conversations are really all about having conversations when there is a problem and actually getting to a solution, right? Actually getting to a solution. We want our conversations with our kids, with anyone in our lives, to be productive. And more often than not, we are all having unproductive conversations that are turning into, it's combative, whether it's with your spouse, with your child, with your coworker, with your parent. So often we have these conversations. There's some problem we're trying or challenge in our life that we're trying to solve. And we want to be able to collaboratively solve that problem with other people. And it doesn't end up solving the problem. And so we just keep having the same problems over and over again. So I'm like, well, let's truly figure out how to get to a solution. So I've developed this 3-step way to have a productive conversation. And there's a lot that goes into it. And I've really been teaching you guys this week the foundational elements for having productive conversations in your home. And it is a tool that I use all day, every day, little components of this productive communication pattern that I've retrained my brain to have. And this is what I want for all of you. And we all have to start somewhere. So as a little recap, okay, so my productive conversation process, just to give you guys a little, I call it the SAP process, SAP, and it's really all about learning how to communicate with empathy without being a sap, because I think that so often we're worried that, like, if we're too empathetic with our kids, if we see their perspective too much, or if we are, too compassionate with them, then they're not going to learn all the things. We're going to be soft. They're going to walk all over us. And what I want to say is when you learn how to truly communicate with empathy, you are anything but a sap. You are someone who can be trusted. You build connection. And all of a sudden, the people, they are way more open to learning the things from you because you've fostered all of that beautiful trust and connection. So empathy is what builds that relationship and allows us to teach them all the things. And the old way, I think, is that most of us, we didn't know how else to do. And we may still find ourselves there when you see the kid with the nail sticking out of their head, you want to tell them what to do. We want to tell them. And when you tell, no one wants to be taught, just like the wife in that video. She didn't want to be told. She wanted to be understood. She wanted to be validated. She wanted to be seen. She wanted to be heard. And when those things happen, then she would be willing to possibly be taught or told or collaborate to solve that problem and pull the nail out of her head. So that's the same thing with our kids. No one wants to be told how they should think or what they should do without the empathy piece first. So recap, day 1, we really covered the S of SAP, seeing their perspective, the way we see their perspective and convey it, because we can see their perspective all day long or think we're seeing it, but we got to convey it. The way we convey it in real life, and this is really empathy, is state the obvious. And to state the obvious, you got to stop making their behavior mean something about you. So if you're in that place of they're disrespecting me, yada, 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 and you just be on to yourself that you got a Q-tip, like this is not about me, this is not about me, this is not about me. Quit taking it personally because you're in your own way in that moment. You are making it about you. As long as you're making it about you, you're not going to be able to see someone else's perspective, and you're going to step into teaching and telling mode, and nothing's going to get solved. Nothing's going to get accomplished. So that was day 1. See their perspective. Y'all learned how to see their perspective by Q-tipping and by stating the obvious. Day 2, the A of SAP is active listening. Active listening involves us basically listening and mirroring back whatever's said. Like if that husband in the nail video been like, yeah, you seem super annoyed, you seem super frustrated, say more about that. Makes sense. Interesting. Yeah, keep going. So that's the duct tape dance, right? That's the duct tape dance. And what we have to do, we have to have a quiet curiosity. We have to have a quiet curiosity. That was my alarm going off. It's not a text. It's my alarm going off from my last call. So the quiet curiosity is literally like we have to get quiet. We want to go in. We want to fix. We want to solve. We want to tell them they got a nail sticking out of their head. We want to tell them that it's silly that they want a different kind of pencil. It's not anything to get upset about. We want to tell them all the things. We want to jump into the telling. But the quiet curiosity just has us duct tape our mouth, take some deep breaths, get quiet, and think. All behavior is communication. What's really going on here? How can I know? I got to ask questions. I got to get curious. I got to be interested. I have to get them talking and ask the questions and let them know, like, this is important. Say more. Am I getting this right? You state the obvious. You seem really angry, like yada, yada, yada. And you're like, am I getting this right? And then your child starts talking. Now we're talking. And now you have a chance to do the duct tape dance. Put the tape over your mouth. 77% of communication is nonverbal. You say very little. You got to be quiet. You got to be curious. Don't I look super curious right now? Don't y'all want to tell me things? Like that's what we want for our kids too. This is the collaborative process. So now when we move into day 3 is where we finally get to the solutions. This is where we get to help them solve the problem, improve future behavior, and really get a hold of these things. So day 3, and I did a little post in the group that has like day 1, day 2, day 3, and today I'll update day 3. And I want y'all to know tomorrow on our speed coaching date, which we are dedicating an hour and a half to do speed coaching. I'm going to talk to you guys about the mastermind for those of you who want to take this further. We're going to be opening up enrollment starting tomorrow. So there's going to be some cool bonuses and that sort of thing. And we're really going to be problem solving some different scenarios that you guys have. Y'all are going to get a handout. We are going to give you a handout. Brandy, who's my wonderful, technology maven on the team, she's making you guys a handout. So you'll have a handout to be able to print out. Okay, day 3. y'all got to just see my whole outfit. I couldn't put jeans on today for y'all. I mean, it's too pretty a day, and I want to be outside the rest of the day after this. So day 3, the P part of SAP is problem solve. And the mindset tip for problem solve is courageous curiosity. And the tool is curious questions. You will have a meme that you can download to your phone about curious questions. So let me read to you guys a few things about the mindset tip, okay? Courageous curiosity, what I mean exactly by that. It takes confidence and courage to get curious rather than just jumping into telling mode to try and teach. Like, we know we want to teach them all the things that are going to help them be successful. We want to tell them they got a nail sticking out of their head. But to have the ability to duct tape your mouth and to know that you're going to help your child solve their own problem and get to the solutions. And you don't have to be the sage on the stage to do it. You're going to walk through this process with them. It takes a lot of confidence for you to just be able to get curious, know there's more, and know they may have some of their own solutions, maybe solutions you haven't thought of. Okay. So I want you to think about your answers to the homework today. What made you the proudest of tackling your big challenge? Were y'all wondering how I was going to tie that homework into this? What made you the proudest of tackling your big challenge? Was it having someone else tell you exactly what to do and then doing that? Or did you take part in coming up with the solution and then taking action yourself? Think about it. Anytime you've had a challenge or a problem in your life, and then you've overcome it, or you did something you feel super proud of. Was it because somebody spoon-fed you all the answers? If you got into, maybe your biggest, proudest moment is that you graduated from medical school and residency and did all the things. Are you proud of yourself because you put in all that hard work and studied and went through the grind? Or is it are you proudest because you had some amazing mentor who spoon-fed you a bunch of knowledge? No, we're always proudest when there's some elbow grease and we get to feel like we have a sense of accomplishment, right? So telling without taking the time to be curious and give your kid a chance to take a crack at solving their own problem will land on deaf ears. It'll leave your child frustrated and cause them to get angry or shut down. The real way to teach them all the things is to invite them in to solve their own problem from a place of true curiosity. Like, we're curious about this problem. We don't have all the answers necessarily. They have younger, sharper brains than we do. Who knows what they'll come up with? And we don't know exactly what will work for them. If you're sitting there, if you're thinking, well, I can't get my kid to do their schoolwork. They need to do this. They need to prepare farther in advance. They can't wait till the last minute, blah, blah, blah. Well, that may work for you because that's how your brain is wired. But how do you know? How do you know how your child's brain is exactly wired? You know what? There's a lot of people who do their best work when there's immediacy and a deadline, and they always pull it out at the 11th hour. Haven't we all known people like that? And if they did their work way in advance, guess what? It wouldn't be as dynamic as when they do it the last minute. So for you to assume you know exactly how your child should tackle whatever their challenge or problem is, it's sort of like you're playing God, and it's a little egotistical. So we have to see what I'm saying? Like, this is, you're like, I might be triggering you right now when you're like, whoa, lady. But it takes confidence to have the courage to get curious and to be like, I don't have all the answers. Let's find out what you think. Let's allow you to be part of this process of solving your own problem. Let's let you feel empowered and build your own, all these beautiful confidence skills that are going to serve you well in life. Let me have the confidence to get curious. Let me have the courage to get curious. So okay, I pretty much just said that. So then the tool is curious questions. The what and the how. the what and the how. And all it looks like is this. You've done the active listening, you duct taped your mouth, you've spoken fragments, you got your quiet curiosity. You let them know you were super interested. You're there. They're worthy of being heard. You're like right there with them. You're just riveted by whatever they're saying. You get to the problem solving part and you're like, okay, well, I don't know. Tell me. So based on what you just said, I'm understanding that you blah, 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 blah. So what would work better for you? What would feel better? Tell me how that would look. How would, and how would I be able to, how can I help? What do you feel like would be a better way to do this next time? And if you have a child that's like, I don't know, you're like, okay, well, what if you did know? I don't know, just think, anything. Any idea is okay. We're just brainstorming here. What do you think would feel better? And anything they say, you're like, okay, I hear you on that. Tell me, go develop it. That's interesting. All right, yeah, I like where you're going with that. And then this is the part we've been waiting for, all you recovering fixers, because now you're in recovery. You've gone your first day without the drink. You're in recovery. I have an idea. I have kind of an interesting idea. You want to hear it? If you've stated the obvious and you Q-tipped and you saw their perspective effectively, and then you moved in to the active listening, you duct taped your mouth and you got quiet and curious and you did all of those beautiful things. And now you have earned the right to let them know what you think. They will let you know that by not shutting you down or getting defensive. If they shut you down or get defensive, it just means you need to back it up and do more of the 2 prior steps. Seeing their perspective, actively listening. Seeing their perspective, actively listening. That is empathy. That is practical empathy in the real world. This is the way we do it. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to just do it with your kids. You can do it with everyone. Every situation is solved with this process. So you're going to then say, well, I have an idea. I was thinking, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about that? Again, with the how or the what questions, constantly empowering them to get to solve their own problem. Now, when you guys are done, they get to feel that sense of accomplishment, that they just came up with a whole plan. And they feel like you felt from your proudest moment. Now they get to feel like, all right, yeah, this makes sense. And you're like, I like how you're thinking here. I think you've got a good plan in place. I think we should get this in writing so that we stay clean and clear on this. I think we should get this in writing. Let's get this in writing. And then you empower them with a pencil and you get it in writing and you post it. I put a picture in one of the threads today of what my Mama Command Center looks like, especially during this quarantine time, especially because I have a 14-year-old youngest son who loves Fortnite. It doesn't look pretty. There's lots of things that are handwritten, my handwriting, his handwriting, him signing things. We get it all in writing. Once it's in writing, it weirdly becomes law. And all of a sudden you stop fighting and fighting and fighting about it. Let's get this in writing. See, so now we've taken our time, instead of just teaching and telling, to step into action and really develop a game plan. Now, if you have little bitty kids and you're like, I'm not there yet, I could never get them to sit and have this whole conversation. Let me tell you all something. Productive conversations don't always include all 3 steps. They don't always include, and they don't always wrap up in one sitting. Sometimes there's little micro productive conversations. Just by stating the obvious and active listening and being able to Q-tip and not take their behavior personally, just by doing that, quite often problems get solved. People feel heard. children don't go into that spiraling meltdown state because all they needed was someone not to argue with them that they shouldn't be having the big feeling. Just validating that they have the big feeling a lot of times allows the big feeling to dissolve, or they all of a sudden have the strength to handle the big feeling in a different way. So this is effective with people of all ages. You just change the language and you read your audience and understand that it's not always going to happen at one time. And what I want to tell y'all is practice one step. The more you practice, the more you will master this stuff. Okay, so let me see. I'm taking a little, making sure that nobody on my team is texting me to tell me. Okay, that's what our teaching really is for today. What I want to tell you, we're going to have a winner for today. I think I have a few minutes because I was, I think, a little more efficient today. So I think I'm going to have a few minutes if y'all have some questions that I could answer. And let's see. Let me go to the bottom. Bethany says, love this. Monica says, recommended putting house rules in writing, having them involved in developing them and signing the end document. Yes, get it in writing, sister. Tyler says, but what if they are rushing through what is written down to get to what they really want to do, like play video games? So what I would say is anything that's not working for you, that's a problem, like that. Like rushing through your work so that you can get to your video game, that's a problem. And we can use the productive conversation process to solve that problem. Okay. So that would be a beautiful thing. And you always have a productive conversation. Look, y'all, I have a hot second with y'all here to teach you my life's work. 20 years it's taken me to develop all the tools and methods that I have that make up Mastermind Parenting. So, and there's a reason why, like, I take people through this process of learning it. And it basically, I want to sit next to you for a year. I want to sit next to you for a year because we're retraining our brain. We're learning new communication patterns. We're learning how to have productive conversations and shift out of old school lecture style mode and feeling, having our kids feel like they aren't heard or validated and angry, and then grow up to be teenagers that just completely disconnect from us. Like, we're changing that pattern. It takes a minute. So what I would say is what I would do, Tyla, is I would say, okay, we have a problem rushing through schoolwork and video games. We're going to have a productive conversation about it. This is your plan as the pack leader, knowing y'all have to have that. So you would, at a non-relevant time, sit down, have a conversation and say, hey, you would start by stating the obvious. I noticed that when it's school, like, to get through the schoolwork's not nearly as fun as the video games, huh? Like, we're stating the obvious. Why is she racing through the schoolwork to get to the video games? Because schoolwork isn't as fun as video games. Like, it sort of seems like, you can't wait to get through with that schoolwork and to get to the fun stuff. Am I getting this right? And if she's like, that's not true. You're like, oh, okay, I totally got it wrong. All right. So you just are super fast at your schoolwork and you just happen to finish it and then it's video game time? And she's like, yeah. She's super defensive. Say, okay, but like, what about like when they say that the schoolwork should be taking you however long, and it sort of seems like it takes you like 2 minutes instead of 20. Tell me more. Like, is it just too easy for you? Is it not interesting? Like, you're getting curious, right? And you don't have to make it mean anything. You just want to get curious because you really want to see her perspective. And then you want to be able to actively listen. When you walk through this process, you can solve any problem. Fast forward, where you'll get is you guys will get to a productive conversation, to the problem solving part, which is, how can we figure this out where you still get your video game time and you put your time and attention in putting your best effort forward on your schoolwork too? How can we handle this differently? And y'all will come up with a plan, and then you'll get it in writing. And then after it's in writing, you will get to the consequence part, which I never start at the consequence part, because even though everybody always wants to say, but what are the consequences? I'm like, let's go through this whole process before we get to the consequence part. The consequence part will be at the end. It's a little tag onto the productive conversation, which ends up being, and what about those moments where you have a day and you just want to race through your schoolwork and get to the video games, and you haven't given your schoolwork the time and attention? What happens on those days where you just have one of those days and you forget these rules that we've just put in place and this plan that we've just put in place? What about those days? And your child's going to say, because again, what or how? I don't know. You're going to say, well, what can we do to help your brain remember that it's the video games are a privilege, and you have to get the privileges. You got to be the responsible, citizen and human. And part of your responsibility and your job is putting your best effort into your schoolwork. So what do we do to help your brain remember how important it is to be responsible first before you just indulge in the privilege? What do you think what would be the consequence to help your brain remember? That's what a consequence is. It's a teaching moment. This is important. And so I think, so this is where you'd say, okay, here's the deal. The consequence will be, and you come up with your consequence and you get it in writing. And then when they race through the homework and they get to the video games, you follow through on that consequence. And the first 1 to 3 times of following through on that consequence, especially with these strong-willed kids, will be a shit show. And you should just expect it. To lean into the suckage, because that's what it takes to establish that you are the pack leader. And you just have to know it's coming and you're going to expect it. And when you do it and show up with that consequence and consistency, your child starts to believe you and they start to trust you more, and they start to actually feel more regulated because they know exactly what the rules are and exactly how they will be followed through. That's a process. That's a process. Okay. I'm sure I have about 500 questions about all that. Okay. What if they say the schoolwork's not interesting? Yeah. First of all, it's not. Like, why are we arguing with them? I mean, honestly, it's not. And it, a lot of the time, it's not engaging. It's not taught. Traditional education has not caught up with the times, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. And so if our kids are like, it's not interesting, you're like, I get it. Tell me. Like, what part bores you the most? Again, we're just that quiet curiosity. Because guess what ends up happening? When you show up, we think we need to force them, and we try to go to that place of control, and we've gotten it all wrong. The quiet curiosity and the empathy and seeing their perspective so often just solves the problem, because they feel heard, and they end up, kids want to do well. Kids want to do well naturally, until we accidentally come in and try and control them, or some authority figure comes in and tries to control them, and then we sabotage their natural instinct to want to do well. So when you just meet them with, tell me, yeah, it's uninteresting. What part? What's the most boring? Yeah. Ugh. You're just not into that. And and how are they teaching it to you? There's so many more interesting ways to teach it to you. Why do I have to do it? So why is it so boring? Like, kids are curious naturally. Like, you guys your brain was designed to learn and be curious. That makes me so frustrated. And like, we get mad for them. That makes me so frustrated that this is actually an interesting subject and they've managed to somehow do it in a way that's boring you. It's so frustrating. And your kid's like, I know. And then what you'll find is the empathy part, your kid's like, well, but it's not that big of a deal, because really I just end up having to do like 10 problems. And once it's really not that big of a deal. You're like, oh, okay. What could you do to make it more interesting? Well, I don't really need to do anything to make it more interesting. I think I just need to get it done more quickly. And that's when that's when when you get really good at this, you end up putting on your coaching hat. And that's where you teach them concepts like, well, that's when I like to gamify things. Like, I love to watch my favorite show, but I got to get the things done that have to get done that I find boring before I watch the show. or, whatever. And that's where we kind of can move into that coaching role, but that's only when we've done the S and the A well. And now we're in the P, we've given them the how and the what, the curious questions to solve it for themselves. And now they're open to hearing some of our coaching, like, well, I like to gamify things, or I do this, or I do that. What would work for you? We're constantly putting it back on them. It's a different way. It's a different way. But do y'all see how it's a better way? Like, it just feels better, and it feels so much better for our kids. It feels so much better for us. And all of a sudden we become the person, instead of being the enemy, being like, you need to get all that work done. We're like, why is that work so boring? Tell me more. Your brain was designed to be curious and to learn. Look how much you love watching those YouTube videos on blah, 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 or reading that book on this, or building with Legos, or building buildings, or designing things. You're like an architect with those Legos or those blocks. Like, you are such a brilliant mind. How have they managed to make this boring for you? That is so frustrating to me. That, and I will tell you, all my kids have different learning styles, and they all strive for their personal best. They're all super motivated students. And I have never, I want to tell you that, like, my husband actually sort of parent shames me sometimes that I've never looked at a report card. All I've ever said is like, oh, it came out. Oh, how do you feel about it? Good. And he's like, okay, at some point you got to look at a report card, He's like, don't teach people that. I'm like, I'm not teaching people that, but like, it's obviously working. They're all pushing themselves. So I know this works. Okay, good. Amanda's chiming in. Yes, y'all want to hear from Amanda. Brilliant child whisperer that she is. Okay, good. Beth found it helpful. Okay, wait, have we announced the winner yet? You guys, Lindsay, Liz? Okay, you're already on top of it. They're on top of it. The winner of today is Elizabeth Weaver. Elizabeth Weaver, you have won. You will get a signed copy. Where's my mic there? You will get a signed copy of the book, and you will get one-on-one coaching with me. The one-on-one coaching with me is actually an amazing thing. It's a half-day VIP coaching with me, and we use this app where basically you have 4 hours to just run scenarios by me, and I will respond. To these different scenarios. And I mean, these half-day VIP with people in the mastermind that have won challenges like this, sometimes I'm telling you, it is literally like we have 6 months of ahas in 4 hours. So this is a great thing to win. But you only have 1 week to redeem it. So it's available from Saturday through the 25th. Okay. And anybody who is feeling stuck and loving what you've learned this week and want to, talk to us about if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you want to continue this work, if you want help with an action plan, we have 20-minute free laser sessions available. So grab one of those. They're actually filling up. So grab one of those. And then tomorrow I'm going to come on. I'm going to do I did just now a little bit of speed coaching. So I'm going to do more of that tomorrow. I'm going to give you guys all the details on the mastermind. I'm going to answer questions about the mastermind for everybody that wants to take this further. We're going to announce the grand prize winner, which that actually grand prize win is $1,000 value. So we'll announce that tomorrow. And to be eligible for the grand prize, you have to have shown up live, done all your homework, and commented. So if you haven't done your homework, just know there's still time. You could go back and do your homework now on day 1, day 2, day 3, that you've shown up live to these live sessions, and you have shared on social media that you took part in this challenge, and you hashtag us. And if you could share the link, because people can still come into the challenge and catch up and just replay and watch the videos. So just by sharing the love and spreading the word of what we're doing, That's super important. So you have to do that to be eligible to win the grand prize. Okay, guys, that's what I've got for you today, and can't wait to see you tomorrow. We have a little bit more time. Tomorrow is my happy place. Love, love, love the speed coaching. We're just going to dive into some scenarios. So see you guys soon. Bye.